Coming in number 5, we've got Abizathebu. Fallen angels tend to have pretty wild names, so we'll kick off with a good one. Abizathebu, Abizathebu, Abizathebu. Keep saying it, I swear nothing bad will happen. While some angels fall from heaven and just chill in the sacrilege paradise that is hell, some have higher hopes for sure. Good old Abizathebu is one of those with goals, aspirations, a day planner fully loaded with terrible tasks. After following Beelzebub in a grand exit from the Holy Land, he became quite an important demon in hell. Most hell dwellers choose to follow a certain demon or become part of a legion of some sort. This fallen angel has control over all sorts of imprisoned souls. Some say that this charge is both a privilege and a burden though, but I would imagine the same is true of all sorts of tasks in hell. There's much more to this demon though. He doesn't just remain in hell for all of eternity. In fact, there's a wild story about what Abizathebu got up to above ground. After falling from heaven, he roamed about Egypt, eventually causing a pharaoh's heart to harden. This act of evil inspired the pharaoh to pursue the fleeing Israelites, which ended poorly to say the least. This pursuit resulted in the pharaoh's army being crushed by the Red Sea. Abizathebu himself was imprisoned in a pillar of water and forced to uphold a pillar of air until a temple's completion. That has to do terrible things to one's mind, so I'm sure whenever this demon escapes, he'll be ready to wreak some vengeful havoc. You'll be able to recognize this angel turned demon rather quickly too. He has 2 differently colored wings. One is bright red. So if you ever come across an entity with 2 different colored wings, one being red, you can probably be pretty sure, reasonably so, that it is Abizathebu. Be careful and watch yourself, as he is the demon of pride, known to lead people astray. Coming in number 4, we've got Furfur. Don't be fooled by the somewhat silly name on this one. Furfur is to be feared. A great Earl of Hell, he commands 29 legions of demons that can compel all sorts of atrocities to happen. Take in that his name could be a corruption of the Latin word furcifer, which means scoundrel. We love a good scoundrel around here, but be aware that when dealing with one face to face, he will almost always come away as the loser. He's been depicted as all sorts of different things, from an angel to a fox to a winged hart, which is essentially an older species of deer, plus wings of course. In those forms, Furfur has been known to trick and mislead people, as he is a pathological liar. The imagery of a tricky fox or deer has been used in myths and stories all across the world. Apparently, if you compel Furfur into a magical triangle though, he will revert to his true form and speak only the truth. Whether or not you want his scratchy demonic voice telling you truths is a matter of contention though. Trickery and shapeshifting are only the beginning of this entity's power. Furfur can force love between a man and woman, which often does not result in desirable outcomes. The actual method Furfur employs to make this false love happen is up in the air, but maybe double check your intentions if you find yourself falling in love in the woods. Furfur can also whip up destructive inclement weather. Enormous cracks of lightning, tremendously loud thunder, and storms with rain and wind that put monsoons to shame are all under his control. So don't make him mad, lest you end up struck by lightning or drowned in torrential rainfall. If you summon this fallen angel, he may impart some knowledge upon you. Often this knowledge is of divine things and meant to instill happiness. So even though he is known as a demon, he's not all that bad. There are benefits to having him around if you can manage to avoid these storms and potential forced love. Coming at number 3, we've got Adramelech. Possibly an ex-angel, possibly a Sumerian sun god, Adramelech is worshipped by people around the world who wish to offer up sacrifices in exchange for power and wealth. Here's a fun fact: not only is he a chieftain of hell, he's also got a whole bevy of other interesting hellish responsibilities. Firstly, he's the great chancellor of demons, which is pretty neat. He's also president of the Devil's General Council. Who knew the demons were so democratic and well organized? But here's the kicker, my favorite fact about Adramelech. He is the governor of the Devil's Wardrobe. Tell me you wouldn't want some fashion tips from the Devil's Wardrobe governor. Some seriously killer style on this dude. Probably has one of the original pairs of Satan shoes and everything. To ensure that he looks the part, he takes on the form of either a humanoid mule or a peacock. Or maybe sometimes he's a mule-peacock hybrid. All the above are probably true in some capacity. Be warned, even if you do encounter a fabulously dressed mule peacock man, he's not to be approached. He's described as an enemy of God, greater in ambition, guile, and mischief than Satan, a fiend more cursed, a deeper hypocrite. And we hear a lot of bad things about Satan all the time, so if Adramelech is worse and more cursed than the big guy down there, then we're in for some trouble. Maybe that's why all those hardcore streetwear enthusiasts are so pure evil. They're just channeling Adramelech. Coming in at number 2, we've got Andras. Now we're getting into some hardcore ones. Sure, we started with some fallen angels who might have a violent tendency or two or compel people to act in ways that contradict their morals, but that's all just part of life, right? Andros is straight up evil. He is powerful, deadly evil. The Grand Marquis of Hell, 63rd of the 72 Spirits of Solomon, and commanding 30 legions of demons. Boom. If Andros likes somebody, he teaches them to kill their enemies, masters, and servants. Yeah, all three categories. He is a bringer of bloodbath and brings them often. Nobody escapes when he's around. To make matters worse, he also gets a kick out of creating bad situations. Sowing discord among people is a chief interest, and trouble seems to follow him wherever he goes. It's hard to avoid him too, as he does take many forms and can really mess up your day if you're not ready. See, usually magicians look to summon Andros in order to gain some of his power, but he's not easily handled. He will often kill the very people who summoned him if they're not prepared for his arrival. Then he's just free to roam around with his owl head and crazy sword, murdering to his heart's content. Not great. Usually he looks sort of human, with an owl or raven head riding a dark wolf. Very majestic, very cool, very dangerous. Seriously, watch yourself if you even catch a whiff of Andros activity. And finally at number 1, we've got Beelzebub. Somebody told me he's got a devil set aside, but I'm not really sure what to make about that. There's also talk of Beelzebub being pretty wicked with the guitar and him stealing a whole lot of souls with it. This is all just hearsay, mind you, so take it with a grain of salt. However, the mythical Beelzebub, famous fallen angel, does have a lot written about him in religious and historical texts. His name means Lord of the Flies, and he rules over those nasty little buggers down in hell. A third fallen angel after Lucifer and Leviathan, Beelzebub has a lot of sway in the lake of fire. He's Lucifer's chief lieutenant and wears that title with pride. And speaking of pride, he's also the demon of pride. Also gluttony, also the prince of false gods. Witches love him, as they often mention him as an object of desire, and Beelzebub is a name that popped up quite a bit during the Salem witch trials. His presence is everywhere, and many folks blame him for all sorts of demonic possessions throughout history. Just an absolute all-star when it comes to demonic activities. No wonder he's referenced so much in literature, music, movies, and more. Boy, howdy. Who knew angels could commit to such hard pivots? There are more of these than I originally thought, especially when you delve a little deeper. It makes me wonder what the angels who are still currently being angelic are up to. Coming in at number 5, we've got Florus. You know an angel turned demon is wicked when it shows up in essentially every RPG going, video game or not. Florus is just such a demon, making appearances in the likes of Shin Megami Tensei, Pathfinder, hell, there's even a cool Gundam named after him. At that point, you just have to accept that it is a super wicked, super powerful demon with lots to bring to the table. He goes by many names, however, so if you run into someone named Flavrus, Haurus, Horus, or Havrus, you should also be on guard. His power is matched by few, and as such, Florus is a great Duke of Hell. It always amazes me how much hierarchy and organization goes on down in the underworld. Good for them, the underclass, organizing to rise up against their oppressors. As a great duke, Florus presides over some 36 legions of demons, all powerful in their own right. If a battle between heaven and hell were to break out once again, you can bet that they'd make one hell of an impact. Sorry about that. If one wishes to summon Florus, they'd better be ready. He can be quite the useful companion, as he speaks truth about all things past, present, and future. So by asking him questions, you too can have knowledge of the seemingly unknowable. Imagine the possibilities. However, and we've seen stuff like this before, to ensure the truthfulness of his answers, the asker must first compel Florus to stand in a magic triangle. Fail to do this, and he will do all he can to trick and bamboozle, and nobody wants to be bamboozled by a demon. So find that 3-sided emblem and ask away. Figure out where your dad went when he left to buy milk. Find out if your grade school crush ever liked you back. See if you can puzzle out the key to godhood. One of those might be a little heavier than the others, but you get the idea. In addition to being all-knowing, Florus is extremely powerful. He has the ability to literally burn all of his conjurer's enemies in a shower of hellfire. So if you're not very well liked or too powerful for your own good, this is a good demon to conjure. Apparently this burning applies to other demons who may be against mortals, which can come in handy for sure. I doubt this makes him very popular among his demon compatriots, but hey, he can also be used to help the conjurer resist all temptations. Knowledge, enemy deletion, and temptation resist, all in the form of a terrible leopard man. You have to wonder if the heavens regret letting Florus go. Coming in at number 4, we've got Valak. You probably recognize his name too. Although the depiction of this demon in The Conjuring is far from the traditional one, but movies will do what they do. The book is always better, right? Upon first glance, one might make the mistake of assuming that Valak is a cute little cherubic boy, angel wings and all. However, take a closer look at the whole picture and you'll see what's really going on here. This cute, innocent, angelic child is actually a demon riding upon the back of a two-headed dragon. First of all, that's so sick. Secondly, what a ballsy move, retaining the angelic form while at the same time mounting a twin-domed fire-breathing terror. So less nun-like and more Bayonetta angel-like. It's cool either way, but which creature is more wicked in the end? Valak is a president of hell with leadership over 30 legions of demons. So while he might not be quite as powerful as our boy Flores, he definitely pulls his weight. He's also attributed with the power to find hidden treasure, so if gold and silver and precious stones are your thing, maybe consider finding this dragon rider. I'm sure pirates would have loved this guy, although anybody in a boat for months at a time might see a little boy on a winged worm and think, oh, I've gone insane. Valak is also proficient at finding another thing, which to most people might be a little less precious. He is a serpent dowser, able to locate, reveal, and render harmless all varieties of snakes. So if you've got some stuff in common with Indiana Jones, it could be nice. Valak doesn't just nerf the snakes though, he can also control the slithering creatures. And if you've ever played D&D with a low to mid-level druid, you'll know just how useful a handful of poisonous serpents can be. Treasure, snakes, riding upon untraditional steeds. Maybe this angel-turned-demon did preside over Indiana Jones. Coming in at number 3, we've got Zaphen. Here we go, a true fallen angel. The entities we mentioned before are implied to have been angels at some point, corrupted and brought down to demonhood, but this guy right here has verifiably washed his hands of heaven. When Satan took up arms against God and his supporters, Zaphen was right there, ready to lend a hand to the eventual devil. Most demons are probably associated with some sort of fire though, right? Like, they live in hell after all. They're constantly talking about casting people in a lake of fire, but Zaphen, he is a true fire lover, an emberhead, an inferno enthusiast, a flame freak. Get this, before he and the other angels were cast out of heaven, he came up with the bright idea to set fire to everything up there. That's right, he was the original arsonist, burning the heavens where he was created to get revenge upon those who would smite him and his fallen friends. So it only makes sense that he would now be a very fiery fiend. In the abyss, he's in charge of constantly stoking the flames, whether by blowing on them with his mouth, fanning them with his hands, or using the emblem most associated with him, his bellows. The furnace would not produce flames as hot without the help of this burning brute. Some just want to watch the world burn. Coming in at number 2, we've got Mastema. It's ambiguous as to whether Mastema is a fallen angel or simply an angel full of wrath. Either way, he's terrifying. Regardless of the outcome, Mastema did indeed begin his career in heaven. For quite some time, he was known for persecuting evil in the name of God. This wasn't done with kindness and light though, it was done through divine punishment, torture, violence, and fear. His name can mean hatred, hostility, enmity, and persecution, so you figure it out. While in heaven, it seems that he was a watcher. However, it's hard to say whether he joined the watchers that indulged in the earthly pleasures that brought about the Nephilim. Some texts refer to him as the father of all evil though, so there's always the possibility that he decided to switch sides. In fact, Mastema was a well-documented flatterer of God, and, well, if someone's too close to true power and always flattering, they often have ulterior motives. This bit is further confused when the Watchers are being cleansed from the earth by an incredible flood, and Mastema implores God to let him keep and control 1/10 of the remaining demons in order to test humans and weed out the corrupted. So even if he remained an angel of sorts, he also controls a horde of demons and does demonic things, from seducing folks away from goodness and light to carrying out heinous punishments. And finally, at number 1, we've got Lucifer. Now how could I go 2 whole lists about angels becoming demons and not mention the most legendary of fallen angels? Lucifer Morningstar. There is all sorts of contention as to whether Lucifer is also Satan and also the devil, or if he's one and not the other, and what each title means specifically, but putting all that aside, let's take a quick look at the story most folks are familiar with. Lucifer was once a beautiful and infallible angel, nearly perfect in all ways. Being so powerful and excellent, Lucifer started to lust after the place of God. His pride became his downfall, as is the case in many tales, and Lucifer was corrupted with sin. In holding himself too highly in his mind, he attempted to take the place of God, and in doing so started a war in heaven. This, as we all know by now, did not go well for Lucifer. He and all of the angels that supported him were defeated, and God didn't have to lift a finger. What can you do, right? Lucifer was cast out of heaven and given a new name, Satan, or adversary. It's fitting. So if you're ever feeling really good about yourself, check yourself. Otherwise, you might find yourself in a position in which you might wreck yourself. Hero to villain, rags to riches, gallant to goofus. These beings have been around since the origin of storytelling in one form or another, so it's safe to say we can't avoid such a fate. But you can be careful. Coming in number 5, we've got Armaros. Have you ever watched someone fall in love with the idea of something? Like a high schooler going head over heels for their crush without actually knowing all that much about them, let alone actually talking to them? Or maybe someone falling victim to the never meet your heroes cliche, where they develop some sort of parasocial relationship with someone and then find out what they're really like. I suppose this kind of thing happens even more than ever with the way people present themselves in online spaces, but it's been happening for ages. There's no avoiding the tragic comic classics when it comes to people and the stories they get caught up in. Although one would think that angels might know better. Enter Armaros. Sounds kind of like amorous, which kind of makes sense as I continue to explain what I'm talking about. This is an angel who is a friend of Enoch. One day Enoch came to hang with Armaros and began to describe what humans are like, their forms, the way they acted and reacted, the things they believed in, the works. And although Armaros had never met a human, he began to fall in love with them, or the idea of them. He, like so many other watchers, decided to descend to Earth in order to be with the humans. Whether this was out of pure love, or lust, or some combination of the two with many other factors, we may never know. But down he went, which was the beginning of the end. Given his name, which means accursed one, he was lost. Armaros' voice was taken from him as well, leaving him unable to pronounce words as he once did. And there he languished, no longer an angel, forced to live beneath the humans that had entranced and tempted him so. He is the angel of undoing and taught many things to the humans. He introduced them to methods used to counter magic users, and in doing so sped up the advancement of corrupt societies. Destruction was wrought through his lessons, and he made it so humans were even more prideful and powerful than before. All because he had heard about humans and dreamt up a version of them in his angelic head. So let this be a lesson to all of you chronically online folks out there. Project a bunch of stuff onto someone you don't know, and you could end up literally being cast out of your home and down into hell. Keep that in mind. Coming in number 4, we've got Tamiel. When a name shows up in multiple popular creepy TV shows, you can probably assume there's some spookiness to its owner. In the case of Tamiel, we can see why almost immediately. Featured in both The Walking Dead and Supernatural, this angel has some star power, and it doesn't stop at star power, he's got some crazy other powers too. He was once an angel up in heaven, of course, with all of the divine providence that comes along with that. However, that wasn't quite enough, and Tamiel made his way down to Earth and eventually to the underworld itself. There he became known as the Angel of the Unseen. Tamiel will take a human and put them into a dreamlike state where they remain for extended periods of time. In this dream, humans will experience their personal idea of heaven. Over thousands of years, this angel would do this to many different humans, often under the guise of another. He took on many different names during this process, slyly hiding his identity from those who may recognize him. The reason for these covert operations is largely unknown, but I'm sure you can fire some guesses down in the comments. It wasn't only dreamy heavens that Tamiel gave to humans though. He also taught them many things considered taboo at the time. Famed for his teachings of astrology, he gave humans the means with which to decode the stars above them and apply their movements to their lives. A little less popular, teaching the wicked strikes of spirits and demons to children. So if your kids are talking about how angels and demons are terrifying and maybe how they'd like to be just like them, you can blame this angel. He's also a teacher of the strikes of the embryo in the womb, and you can figure that one out on your own. So among Christians, he's got a lot of reasons to be unpopular. Overall, this is a very zealous teacher who is handing out knowledge that folks might not be super happy about in the long run. Plus, getting put into a dream coma might be nice for you, but it's probably not ideal for your immortal soul. Coming in number 3, we've got Penemu. Knowledge is power, that's for sure, but it can also cause plenty of problems, as we can see while looking at literally any point in history. And who can we blame for all of this? Why, Penemu, of course, the fallen scribe, angel of the written word, curer of stupidity in man and revealer of secret wisdom, a Prometheus in a different body. What an angel. It's too bad all these things didn't end up producing a net good for the world, or it could have been wicked. Oh well, you win some, you lose some. Penemu is another fallen angel who was once a watcher. Wanting to provide humans with all sorts of forbidden knowledge, they did just that. Descending to Earth with ink and paper in hand, Penemu taught people how to read and write, and while doing so purged a good deal of stupidity from the world. Unfortunately, the proliferation of written communication created an environment where stupidity could thrive if left unchecked. Should've saw that one coming. If all sorts of skilled and careful writers get together and discuss, new and useful ideas may be born. If essentially everyone on Earth has access to all of these writings and the ability to give their 10 cents, oh boy. So while the intentions were good, the execution wasn't so great. And the fallen angel Penemu doomed us to scrolling endlessly on Twitter, getting into arguments with distant family over Facebook, and of course, reading comments on YouTube. Coming in number 2, we've got the 5 Satans. Okay, this one seems weird to put in a top 5 list, but hear me out. There are 5 fallen angels who are said to have tempted their compatriots into feeling lust and desire towards humans. For this grave infraction, they will forever be known as the 5 Satans. Yekon, Asbiel, Gadriel, Kazde, and the previously mentioned Penemu were all responsible for this. In doing so, they doomed humanity to a horrible flood and split the heavens in twain. The angels who remained on the side of God fought against their brethren who went down to earth, and nothing has ever been the same. Each of the 5 Satans played their part in corrupting and swaying others away from their predetermined path, and in doing so, they truly earned their fallen angel titles. Condemned and sent down to hell, these 5 are full of hatred and temptation. And what a name for that group too, eh? 5 Satans. It's a pretty wicked way to be referred to. And finally at number 1 we've got Kokabiel. And one more for good measure, right? This fallen angel is known as the Angel of the Stars, which sounds lovely, right? And mostly it is. The thing about Kokabiel is that there is a divide as to whether he could be an angel or a demon. Could be a little bit of column A, could be a little bit of column B. Or maybe one and not the other. I don't know. That's what makes this potential demon so spooky. At any moment it could be revealed whether you can trust him or not, whether he has the order of the cosmos in mind while acting. Terrifying in its vagueness, that's for sure. If we're going to assume that Kokabiel did indeed fall though, we can see that he does indeed have control over some 365,000 spirits in the underworld. That's enough to drown really any other army, and we can probably assume that number's growing by the day. People die and disappear, but their spirits stay in the underworld forever. It's a little darker of a note than I anticipated, but we'll roll with it. Oh man, oh man. Someday we'll all be demons, I guess. Who's to say that we aren't already? What's that comic strip with the 2 people in the grocery store again? In hell there's relief and utter helplessness. Here our actions have consequences for both ourselves and others. Surely this is worse? A classic. Take that one to heart, why don't ya? Coming in number 5, we've got Abigor. Oh shoot, this one has gore right in the name. It might not be spelled perfectly, but you get the gist. However, you could also refer to it as Eligor or Eligos and still get the same results. Classic. A lot of demons are known for manipulating people and causing them to act out of character. Whether that new impulse leads the possessed to prideful behavior, jealousy, greed, or something even more heinous, you know that it makes the world a darker place overall. Abigor has a wicked trick up his sleeve to cause a lot of problems all at once. On top of commanding 60 legions of demons as the Grand Duke of Hades, he is also an expert manipulator of mortals, and often drives them to commit great acts of violence and even genocide. So instead of corrupting a single person and having that reverberate through their brethren, he corrupts a person and has them decide it's a good day to wake up and commit mass murder and war crimes. Holy smokes. A lot of this has to do with Abigor's many talents, which include seeing the future and predicting upcoming events, as well as providing military aid in the form of strategy and advice. This demon lives for violence, for blood sport, for the thrill of it all. So even if you conjure up Abigor for a shot at winning a skirmish, he'll probably advise that you go way overboard, maim the corpses, take trophies, and burn it all to ash. Then he'll tell you to do it all again, but this time on a larger scale with less soldiers, more civilians. Gnarly. Tales have been told of princes and generals selling their souls to Abigor in order to gain expert military insight. They win their upcoming battles, but the outcomes were some of history's bloodiest. Plus, at the end of it all, when said prince or general finally falls, whether in battle or to disease, they're now eternally indebted to Abigor. Welcome back to bloody, horrid combat, soldier. Here's your pitchfork, here's your bat wings. Hope you enjoy the barracks, which are conveniently located next to the Lake of Fire, and will always be hundreds of degrees hotter than you can handle. Oh, and I almost forgot to tell you what Abigor looks like. In classic combatant style, he's fashioned after a handsome knight wielding a lance. Either that or a wicked specter on a flying steed. Watch out for both if you plan on heading into battle anytime soon. Coming in number 4, we've got Scariest. This one can be a little confusing, even though it's technically similar to Abigor. Scariest is actually known to be a little bit good as well as a little bit evil. Many scholars have trouble classifying him as a demon or an angel. Sometimes he's just considered to be a godlike helping spirit. This doesn't make him perfect, nor does it excuse the other atrocities he commits. But if you are looking for some help and can't seem to get a traditional angel to swoop down and assist, Scariest is a good option for sure. A marquis in hell, he commands 20 legions, but supplements this relatively meager force by somehow ruling over all of the spirits in Africa. That's a lot of spirits in case you're wondering. If you see a warrior riding upon a black steed, that could very well be Scariest. Or just any warrior with a black horse, but hey, it's fun to look out for that kind of stuff. Speaking of looking out for stuff, did you know that Scariest is an expert treasure hunter too? He's known for leading people to hidden and lost treasure, for a price of course. Don't ask about the price. He's also known for teaching people grammar, logic, and rhetoric, which to be fair are all very useful things. I use those every day while making these videos. Wait, does that mean I'm being possessed by Scariest? Oh boy. Lastly, and this one links back up to that soldier-warrior mentality, Scariest is able to make people into warriors of his own likeness. So hypothetically, he could cobble together an army of Scariest adjacents and overrun the world no problem. Yikes. But hey, at least they'd find a lot of treasure and teach a lot of valuable lessons. We need more grammar, logic, and rhetoric nerds out there anyways. The internet seems to be draining brains. Coming at number 3, we've got Dantalion. A truly tricky individual, Dantalion should be regarded with the utmost care. Lose your composure around him and you could find all of your secrets being revealed. With 36 legions of demons under his command, he's no pushover either. One would assume that a demon with such a knack for connivery might not be all that strong. Dantalion flies in the face of that assumption. Teaching arts and sciences, he'd be an excellent professor if he wasn't so busy giving people complexes. Apparently he knows the thoughts of all people, and if someone attempts to summon him, he will declare their secret counsel and also do what he can to change their views. So even if you're totally dead set in your ways, Dantalion will find a way to alter that. Stubbornness be damned. Speaking of changing people's minds, he can cause folks to fall in love at the drop of a hat, regardless of any prior affinity or affection. This could end very well or very poorly. It also seems that he can bring folks to literally any place in the world in the blink of an eye. You're not going to be able to pick Dantalion out of a crowd though, as he takes on infinite appearances and can look like literally anyone. In fact, after all this, he sorta reminds me of the demon from It Follows, if you know what I'm saying. Causing lust or love, looking like everyone in the world. What a way to be. Coming in at number 2, we've got Amon. While most of the demons we'll discuss today take on at least a vaguely humanoid appearance, Amon looks like a straight up monster. Take this in. He often appears as a fire-breathing wolf with a snake's tail, a man with a dog's teeth situated inside of a raven, or as a raven-headed man, or some messed up combo of all the above. Absolutely raunchy. Egyptians viewed him as their supreme god, often in a much more human-like form with blue skin. How we got from godlike to demon-like, we may never know. Thankfully, Amon is relatively benign, for a demon at least. He seeks to tell people of all things, both past and present, and mends rifts in friendships. What a sweetheart. It's just too bad he's totally terrifying in most forms. And finally at number 1, we've got Baphomet. What was once worshipped by the Knights Templar became a pagan symbol of evil? Nobody wants to let anybody worship anything else in peace, eh? How many religions are there in the world, and only one is supposed to be correct? Now that doesn't seem right, now does it? Again, things change so quickly. Whoever's interpreting this figure will greatly alter how it's perceived. For a while it was indeed a pagan symbol, but in the 19th century Baphomet was largely associated with Satan. Still is in some places for sure. It's wild how far something can swing, right? Apparently at some point Baphomet was a fertility symbol, although this has been contested by many. And of course you can find this goat-headed being in tarot decks across the world. I'm not really sure what else there is to say about Baphomet thanks to how divisive a figure it is. Let me know what your take on this whole thing is. Please and thank you. Right on, right on. We love angels, we love demons, we love combination angels and demons. Something about Pizza Hut Taco Bell in there, but I'm much too lazy to make an actual musical joke. You get the idea. We're all just learning stuff and applying it to what we already know. Stuff that is common knowledge now might be total mythical nonsense in a few hundred years. Can't wait to see it all happen. That is, if humanity survives the next century or so. Maybe some angels turned demons will pop up and assist us with all that.